Joining us is Jeff Passan. He is a columnist with Yahoo Sports and one of the co-authors of a book, Death to the BCS, looking at the BCS and a college football playoff and getting into that issue. Hey Jeff, I was thinking last night watching the Sugar Bowl, what a great first-round playoff game that Arkansas-Ohio State matchup would have been if we could have been in a scenario where those kind of games are played.
You don't have to tell me, and that's exactly right. I mean, we would have seen those caliber matchups in the first round, and that's the sad part about this whole thing. We would have seen TCU, Wisconsin caliber matchup. I mean, we would have seen great matchups in the first round of a 16-team playoff. And fact is, we would have had 3 more rounds after that, and instead, all we get are these one-off games where you get to enjoy it for a day, and then you get to forget about them for the next 9 months. And that's not the way college football should be. It should be building up to something. It should be exciting. It should be different than the BCS is.
So after all these years, the BCS, obviously, the detractors are many, including people even inside the cartel, as you guys call them in the book. Why do we still have this system after all these years?
It's about power and about consolidation of power. That's the issue at the end here. You know, there's a lot more money to be made, and the people who are in charge of the BCS admit that. But the money is not the important thing. What it is keeping the Big Ten and the Big 12 and the SEC and ACC and Big East and Pac-10 in charge of college football and not letting those lesser teams in their eyes or those lesser conferences go ahead and invade their party. And we've seen time and again the invasion of the party. And TCU is a perfect example this year. TCU turned out to be, if you can't beat them, let them join. And that's exactly what's happening with a team from Texas going to the Big East.
We're talking with Jeff Passan from Yahoo Sports about the book Death to the BCS. And, you know, the book is sort of one of those sports bar argument books that people love to get in, you know, DH or no DH, artificial turf or natural grass. The BCS is the ultimate one. You know, do you like this? Do you like the playoff? I've never personally run into anybody who likes the BCS or doesn't want a playoff. But talk to me about, you know, the motivation for writing the book and what got you guys into this topic with the depth that you had.
Well, it's not much of an argument. I mean, when you have 90+% of the people on the side against the BCS, you know that it's a losing proposition. What we wanted to do is to really dig in and see why this system is so bad and so wrong. And what we found shocked us a little bit. I mean, we were expecting, corruption, and we were expecting to find certain things, but the level at which we found them, the answers that we found, really were surprising. And that was the issue here. We wanted to educate people. We wanted to say bowl games are still in existence in the form they are because their CEOs make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to run 1 or 2 games. And because they support the people who run college athletics, the athletic directors, and other people in the power structure there by giving them free vacations and by treating them to lavish dinners. And so these 2 entities end up protecting each other, and the good of college football is lost in the whole midst of that.
I know whenever I'm making the case for the playoff system, you know, I've gone over the years, kind of like the book traces the evolution from a +1 system to the whole 16-team playoff like other levels of NCAA football do. I've made the economic case, hey, they'd make so much more money, and of course you guys laid that case out really well as well. But it's not just the case that colleges and universities would make more money necessarily, it's that, as you guys point out in the book, a lot of colleges and universities are losing money on their athletics departments, and so as a result, a playoff that would bring more money to the system wouldn't just put more money in their coffers, it would actually help them balance their books.
That's exactly right. When 106 of 120 Division I athletic teams are losing money, there is a problem with the fundamental business of college sports. And if you put a 16-team playoff in place, this was a conservative estimate. Conservatively, you're talking a $750 million a year property. Right now, it's $220 million a year postseason with the bowl system. And a lot of that money goes back to the bowl games as opposed to into the pockets of these universities. So you're leaving a potential $500+ million on the table and giving a disproportionate cut to independent businessmen who are running these games. Why you would do that absolutely defies me. There's nothing traditional about getting fleeced by businessmen, and if the people who run the BCS want to fall back on that argument,
Just up the road from us here in Waynesboro, Virginia, James Madison University is up the road. They won the 2004 1AA National Championship in 2008, hosted 3 games. I covered all 3 of those games, and what a difference it was. I've covered bowl games, University of Virginia, Virginia Tech bowl games, and seen, well, their exhibition games. When JMU was playing in the playoffs a couple years ago, those games meant something. You win, you play next week, you lose, you don't. I can't imagine why we don't do that and have that system in place, but last question, I guess, Jeff. What is your sense? You know, you're the expert here. What is your sense? Are we close at all? Are we within a few years, or in our lifetimes even, of seeing this system change and go to a playoff?
I'd like to think so. I certainly hope so. The television contract runs out in 2014, and I think that's going to be an awfully big year determining the future of college football, because they could go in 2 directions. They could keep the BCS around, which is what Jim Delaney, the Big Ten commissioner, says they're going to do, or they can finally implement some sort of a playoff. Look, I think 16 teams is the best way to go. I think it's the most viable in any number of ways or for any number of reasons. But a +1, an 18 playoff, whatever, it beats the current system. And that's the problem. Get the current system out of the way. Get rid of these polls that are corrupted by voters who, frankly, either don't know what they're doing or are compromised in some fashion. Get rid of computer rankings, or at least put in computer rankings that have some basis in mathematics as opposed to not even being able to include margin of victory. And get a system in place that the fan wants, that the fan appreciates, and that the fan likes.
Jeff Passan, Yahoo Sports columnist and one of the co-authors of the book, Death to the BCS. Highly recommended. Hey, Jeff, thank you so much for your time today.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.